I love you.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic and everything Chicago sports-related podcast. Welcome in, whether you're watching this on the Shy Kid on TikTok or on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube right now on Mike on the Mic. I appreciate you guys for being here. We're having a Bears After Dark episode yet again. Feel like it's how many days in a row since we've been doing Bears After Dark. Every single night we've been talking Bears football. But I'm excited, man. There's a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Obviously, breaking down the NFL's Caleb Williams, presumably the number one overall pick, being in his first pro day tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what potentially happens. It's going to be interesting to see what we hear from general manager Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, who's the head coach of the Chicago Bears. They have just landed in LAX as they prepare to head to USC Stadium to see Caleb Williams and Brendan Rice, son of Jerry Rice. They're going to be in tomorrow's pro day. Obviously, Brendan is just going to be catching passes from Caleb Williams. He was his number one wide receiver in 2023 and his number two wide receiver in 2022. So I'm excited to see what this means, man. First of all, let's get into a little bit about Brendan Rice. Brendan Rice, son of Jerry Rice, 6'3", senior who's declared for the NFL draft in 2024, coming off a career year, 45 receptions, 791 receiving yards, 17.6 yards average per catch, 12 touchdowns, which was a career high in his collegiate level at USC. Coming into it, you look at what he's been able to produce. You're looking at, what is this? About we're looking at around 20 touchdowns in his career over 4 years. It's not insanely impressive. A little over 2,000 yards, I would say, but nothing, or a little less than 2,000 yards actually. But you're looking at it for what it is, and you're understanding that we're focused on Caleb. You know what I mean? Now, I've heard a lot of people in the comments question, hey, is there a potential chance that the Chicago Bears draft Brendan Rice to complete that duo like we've seen in history's past with guys like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow? I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. I don't think it's in the future. It's in the cards for the Chicago Bears to go wide receiver to get Brendan Rice. I also don't think he's just going to be available by the time that we're trying to make that kind of selection. You know what I mean? I'd rather us focus on a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Odunze or something along those lines. I don't think Brendan Rice, respectfully, is as talented as his father, of course. But, with that being said, tomorrow's pro day is going to be exciting. Tomorrow's pro day is one of the days where we get an idea of who Caleb Williams is, the person, in the eyes of the Chicago Bears. That's one of the biggest issues right now. I don't think anybody's questioning his talent. Nobody's questioning his arm strength. Nobody's questioning his athleticism and what he can bring. He's poised in the pocket. His athleticism is second to none in the Pac-12, and especially in this draft class. So I think, it's going to be cool to see him throw some bombs to Rice tomorrow. But I think at the end of the day, what we're looking forward to is the conversations behind closed doors with Matt Eberflus and general manager Ryan Poles. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited nonetheless. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun to really break that down and have a realistic conversation about Caleb Williams and what the future with him in the Chicago Bears is going to potentially look like. There's so many different ways this can go. We've heard RG3's comments and what he thinks Caleb Williams should do, but we've also heard Caleb Williams at the NFL Combine vocalize that it would be an honor to be a Chicago Bear and that he would love it and that, it's a great situation to come into. And I want to point out this to the RG3s of the world, why I think this is important, is you're looking at a situation right now to where prior to getting Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, and several depth pieces, Caleb Williams already said that it was a good situation to go into. He mentioned how it was a 7-10 team or whatever the record was. You're looking at a team that almost made the playoffs. They have good potential players. It's going to be a lot of fun to see him ball out in a Chicago Bears uniform if that's the route the Chicago Bears decide to go into. But that really is the route that the Chicago Bears need to go into. You know what I mean? And like I've said, I have vocalized it many times. I am a bigger believer in Jaden Daniels from what I've seen in his complete body of work over a guy like Caleb Williams, but that doesn't mean that Jaden Daniels is nearly as talented. So it's going to be interesting to see how a guy like Shane Waldron can potentially, level up somebody of the caliber of Caleb Williams. But if you're new to the stream and you're just getting in here, smack that like button, smack that follow button for us, because we're going live 24/7. The more likes you guys send out, the more people come into the live, the more engagement, the more conversations we start to have. It's going to be a great thing. We're answering questions today. Obviously, we're live on TikTok, so I appreciate everybody tuning in so far. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. Let's get into some comments. Let's see how some people are feeling right now. I don't know how to pronounce this, but he said, sup, they might not have a secret dinner with him tonight. Excited for tomorrow. A secret dinner would be interesting. My boy Askin says, good evening. How are we, bro? How we feeling? There's a lot of different conversations about the secret dinners that have been happening with a lot of different organizations over the last couple years. But I think at the end of the day, whether they're having a dinner before or after, it doesn't really make a difference. I think Ryan Poles is going to get a good feel from Caleb Williams, and whether that's a positive feel about drafting him or not, you have to get that good feel. You have to understand who this guy is when you walk out of these meetings. I think that's really where you're at right now. Scott says, do you think Caleb is going to be good, do good in Chicago? You know what? I'll say this. Caleb Williams has no reason to not do good in Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, when you bring in Mitchell Trubisky, pardon me, and Mitchell Trubisky's number one wide receivers are Kendall Wright, Cameron Meredith, and Joshua Bellamy, there's questions. When Justin Fields comes in the room and his number one wide receivers is a disgruntled Allen Robinson who wants out, a Darnell Mooney who was unproven at the time, and, just subpar players after that. And then going into year two, Dante Pettis, Byron Pringle, Chase Claypool, Velus Jones. Like, this is a perfect storm for Caleb Williams to have success. All the talent in the world. We've seen him win a Heisman in the collegiate level. We've seen him put up good numbers, over 10,000 yards, over 100 total touchdowns, over 960 rushing yards. This is a guy who's won a lot of hearts of USC fans and college fans as well. But breaking that down and saying to yourself, is he going to be able to translate in the NFL? I think it makes it 10 times easier when you have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, a top 5 defense, a revamped offensive line, and an offensive-minded, experienced offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. I think right now, if Caleb Williams fucks this up, that's on Caleb Williams. And that's the first time I could really say that as a Bears fan. Jay Cutler had 6 offensive coordinators in 8 seasons. Not too great of offensive lines. You know what I mean? Mitch Trubisky, Matt Nagy just did not fuck with him whatsoever. And the coach and the coach that drafted him didn't even know he was getting drafted. You know what I mean? John Fox. You know what I mean? So, and then obviously Justin Fields, the GM and head coach that drafts him, gets fired the next year, and you go on to a completely rebuilding team that ends up with the number 1 overall pick. So, there's a lot of ways to break that down. Caleb's in a phenomenal situation. This is a team that won 7 games last year. And this is a team that defensively in so many different categories were top 3 in the league. So you're looking at number 1 in interceptions, top 2 run stopping defense. They were starting to pick it up in the sacks percentage after the acquirement of Montez Sweat. So I'm excited to see what this team could look like. A revamped offensive line. You bring in Ryan Bates. You bring in, the kid from LA and a bunch of other guys as well. You're getting a healthy Tevin Jenkins, Darnell Wright, Braxton Jones, Nate Davis. Maybe you get another center in the draft. We'll see what happens. And then obviously the offensive weapons that you brought in and brought together this past offseason and last offseason. So I'm excited about this, man. I think it's going to be dope. Is he going to be good as Sid Luckman? Yeah, I mean, you know what? The greatest Bear of all time as of right now. I mean, you would hope. One can only hope. You know what I mean? Frog says the Bears have a 5-win ceiling, which is crazy to me considering that they won 7 games last year and you think they're going to be worse. So, hey, if that's your hot take, that's your hot take. Travis said Sweat changed that defense from top 20 to top 10. I completely agree. And why that happened and why we can have real conversations about that is understanding that everybody has an assignment. Everybody has a job, but it's hard to do your job when other people can't. You know what I mean? When Yannick Ngakoue and DeMarcus Walker can't apply pressure to the quarterback, it's harder for Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson, and Kyler Gordon to do their job. It's harder for the linebackers to stay in the middle of coverage rather than come seep in because you know that run game is going to be running amok. So, it's hard. So when you bring in a pass rusher like Montez Sweat, that allows Andrew Billings to focus on what he needs to do. That allows Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards to focus on what they need to do. And of course, you saw how Jalen Johnson continued to have success and got a lot more interceptions after bringing in Montez Sweat. So yeah, it's definitely a big thing, especially if the Bears at number 9 can bring in Dallas Turner or Jared Verse. I think you complete that pass rush and you have yourself an issue. We got a lot of guys screaming "Go Pack, go" in here. I need some Go Bears. I need some Bear emojis. Hit that like button. Spam it out. Let's get it in here because we got too many Packers fans in the chat right now talking crazy. This is the era of the Bears, baby. This is the era of the Bears. Would you keep Herbert or Johnson? I think I would keep Johnson just because they're kind of two of the same players. You know what I mean? They're not too far off, I would say. And especially Khalil being on a contract year. You already brought in DeAndre Swift, 3 years, $24 million. It just doesn't make sense to re-sign Khalil. It really doesn't. So I would say going into 2025, you likely have DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. But yeah, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see what the pro day looks like tomorrow. Is there anything you guys are looking forward to? I'm really, for me, like I said, I don't need to see anything. I don't need to see sidearm throws to Brendan Rice. I don't need to see 60-yard bombs. You know what I mean? I just need those conversations to internally go well between him, Ryan Poles, and Matt Eberflus. So that's really where I'm at as it pertains to the pro day as a whole. I think the meeting with the Bears is far more important than the actual showing of his talent. We already know he's a Heisman winner. We already know what he can potentially be. But who is he as a person? Who is he as a man? And it's interesting. It's very interesting because it's like, say you and we're not playing anti Caleb Williams here, but to play devil's advocate, say you trade away Justin Fields like you did for a 6th-round pick in 2025. Disgruntled the entire fan base and team, the locker room. Cole Kmet was vocal about it today on a podcast talking about it, that Ryan Poles informed them a week prior that he was going to trade him. Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore, all these guys were vocal about wanting Fields. So say you do that and then the meeting with Caleb Williams goes horribly. Say you're like, oh man, you know what? I don't think I could take this guy. He's a head case, or maybe he just doesn't want to be here. Whatever the case may be. Like that's a tricky conversation. It really is. Now, based off of what we heard at the combine, based off of what we've been hearing from his camp, Caleb Williams has no problem coming to Chicago, and he would embrace being in Chicago Bear. He thinks it's an honor. So that's good to hear. But do you believe it? You know what I mean? If you're Ryan Poles, do you trust the strength off his word? You know what I mean? Or is he just saying that for the media's sake? It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. You think Mahomes is better than Caleb or the opposite? I think Mahomes is better than every quarterback that's ever existed. And business is business. You know what I mean? Travis hit it on the head. But, let's be real here. I think there's a reasonable conversation that Caleb has the potential to be the next great quarterback that comes into the NFL. But to say he's already going to be better than Patrick Mahomes, you're looking at a multiple-time MVP, a multiple-time Super Bowl champ in just 6 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like we've seen kind of some glimpses of a Patrick Mahomes-esque style quarterback, a Aaron Rodgers style quarterback in a guy like Caleb Williams. But in no way, shape, or form would I say Caleb Williams is even close to Patrick Mahomes as of today. He'd be a god in Chicago if he wins. Yeah, 100%. And, we talked about that yesterday. A lot of people are upset about Justin Fields. I saw some people are petitioning that we put a patch on our jerseys this year for Justin Fields. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. That's for those who have passed on. That's for those who are being celebrated, the Mongos of the world who, do it for Mongo, the Dick Buckuses who have, great legends who have passed away. It's crazy to me to think that, you're having a conversation about putting a patch on your jersey to represent Justin Fields when nothing even came from that. So, I'll say this. I'm going to be real. I'm a huge Justin Fields fan. I'm a huge Justin Fields supporter. but we haven't beaten the Chicago Bears. Or I'm sorry, pardon me. I can't even say words today. We haven't beaten the Green Bay Packers since December 16th, 2018. Mitchell Trubisky was the starting quarterback. Chase Daniels was the backup in that time. That was the last time the Bears won the division. So Justin Fields never beat him. Tyson Bagent never beat him. Nick Foles, Andy Dalton never beat him. So if Caleb Williams in one of his first meetings against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers beats the Packers, I think a lot of people stop talking about Justin Fields very quickly. You know what I mean? At least from a Bears fan perspective. Um, y'all gonna be painting your fingernails next year? Here's the thing, user. I'm gonna be honest with you. If this kid ends up being an MVP caliber player, I could see a lot of people doing it. I could see that being a trend in Chicago. I could see everybody going to Bears games painting their fingernails like Caleb Williams. I ain't gonna lie to you. I could see it. I could see it. Now, if he sucks and he does that, whew, that kid's gonna have some heat. That kid's gonna have some heat. Mitch beat Green Bay and got kicked out like he was an animal. No, that's a fact. That's a fact. Who cares about the fingernails? I really don't. I really don't care about the fingernails. I'm not really. Um, that's not really my concern if I'm the Chicago Bears right now. That Caleb Williams paints his fingernails and writes "F Utah" on them. I think it's hilarious. And I think it's even funnier that Utah beat him twice after he did it. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, you got to give him balls. You got to give him props for having the balls to do that. You got to give him balls. Get out of here. You got to give him props for having the balls to do that. And it takes some balls to do that. Especially at the quarterback position, you can get hurt doing that stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think a lot of people just love to complain, love to bitch and moan about, certain things. Bears fans, and I'm a diehard. I've been a Bears fan the last 24 years of my life, and I never second guessed it once. But we complain a lot. You know what I mean? We always have something to say. That doesn't just go for Bears fans. That goes for Chicago sports fans. We're never happy ever. Unless you win a championship, we're not happy. And that's what it is. And that's a cool standard, but it's like, you don't even know this kid yet. We don't even know Caleb Williams, the person. We don't even know Caleb Williams, the athlete, other than what we've seen at USC and what we've heard from other people. It's he says, you know what I mean? Like, it really doesn't matter what it is at the end of the day. It matters how he performs for the Chicago Bears organization. So if Caleb comes in here with a great mentality, if Caleb comes in here and doesn't cause a single issue, I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of shit to say. And I think a lot of apologies are due. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking all these rumors about him wanting ownership, him wanting all these different things. And at the end of the day, we haven't heard the kids say that or express that once. So it's like, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of media that just bases in on this. And, I've worked in media the last 3 years. I've worked for the WNBA and the MLB and minor league baseball and the big three for Ice Cube. And it's like, there's so much that goes into it, bro. And it's like, all of these guys, you got to think about it from this perspective. Guys like me, I'll even throw myself in there. We're looking for that clip. We're looking for that quote that's going to help our story have success, whatever narrative you're trying to push. That's what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not going to shy from it. But you either write good stories or you make up stories. You know what I mean? You can either be a storyteller or a truth teller. And I think for the case of Caleb Williams, we've heard nothing but stories. I haven't heard the truth of Caleb Williams. I haven't heard anybody tell the story and who he is as a person. So as disliked and as disgruntled many Bears fans are about the future of the franchise right now when it pertains to the quarterback position, I understand Justin was one of one. Justin was an amazing human. Justin was somebody who was willing to rise to the occasion and do whatever he needed to do to go to wars for his brothers on his left and his right. And I heard what he had to say today in an interview, which was touching. It really was. But at the end of the day, man, you could be the greatest guy in the world. Are we going to win a championship? You know what I mean? Are we going to win a championship? And with Justin, I don't think there's a case out on that yet. I think class is still in session. I don't think the case has been dismissed. I think if you would have drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. and given Justin Fields, Keenan Allen, Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and DeAndre Swift with a top 5 defense and a new offensive line and Shane Waldron, that was a mouthful. I think that's the real test. But I think when you're in a situation like this with Caleb Williams, you can't pass up on the clock being so much lighter. You're looking at a Caleb Williams who's going to get paid less than $10 million a year. You know what I mean? Like, and then you're looking at a situation where Justin Fields is making $25 to $38 million, whether that's the 5th year option or the franchise tag in 2025. You know what I mean? Or whatever you extend him to. So it makes too much sense. This is the highest prospect since Andrew Luck, and he's on a rookie deal, and the rest of the team is ready to go. You got to do it. You got to do it. Can you post that Justin video, please? Gray, I actually just did. If you go to my page right now, you can check out that Justin Fields interview. It's very brief. It's not like a heartfelt, hour breakdown, 20-minute breakdown. It's about a minute long. It's on my page right now. You can find it. It's right up there. Let's get into it. Abe said, what are we doing with the number 9 pick? I think there's a lot of different mock drafts and a lot of different conversations we can have right now about the number 9 pick. Myself personally, this is Mike Hughes talking. This is the Shy Kid. This isn't Mel Kiper. This isn't ESPN. This isn't RG3. My personal opinion, I would go Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors at 9. But unfortunately, I don't think either of those guys are going to be available. I think when you look at, obviously, Chicago, New England, and Washington, not in any order, are the top 3 picks. They're all going quarterback, I would say. And then after that, you have 4 through 8 before the Bears pick. And that is, if I'm not mistaken, the correct order is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Arizona Cardinals. And then after that, you have the Los Angeles Chargers, who desperately need a wide receiver. They traded away Keenan Allen. They got rid of Mike Williams, who signed with the Jets today. Gerald Everett's gone. Austin Eckler's gone. They need a wide receiver. And then you have the Giants, who could go wide receiver. I've heard they can't get rid of Daniel Jones, so they got to go wide receiver. All they've had is Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney. They need somebody. And then after that, you have, I believe, the Tennessee Titans, who don't have to go wide receiver necessarily, but they could. And then you have the Atlanta Falcons, who after Drake London, Darnell Mooney and a bunch of other guys, like I would go wide receiver again if I were them. And then you have the Bears. So, you're looking at right now the Cardinals, the Giants, the Chargers, the Titans, the Falcons. There's a lot of teams over there that could take those 3 wide receivers. So if those 3 aren't available, I would say you go Dallas Turner or Jared Verse. That's really where I'm at. Fashanu's another one of those guys, offensive lineman out of Penn State, that I would look at if you trade back or if he's just available at 9. Sure. I would trade back for Fashanu out of Penn State. Excuse me. Amazing tackle. Put him at left tackle. I think you're in a great position. But yeah, Odunze, pardon me, if available, I would without a doubt take. Or even Malik Neighbors. I think I would prefer Malik Neighbors, but no way Malik Neighbors is at 9. You know what I mean? I got some hot takes on the offensive line stuff. That's an interesting conversation right now. And also, there's also guys like Joe Alt. Let me just say that. There's also Joe Alts of the world. Let me not act like he might not be available. He definitely could be available. I don't know. I'm just assuming, if teams go best player available, we definitely could see that. A lot of people said, would the Bears go Brock Bowers at 9? That is one of the most unrealistic possibilities, in my personal opinion. If Ryan Poles goes best player available, that's fine. But after bringing in Gerald Everett, you have Robert Tonyan, and of course your tight end 1, who's on a 3+ year extension, is Cole Kmet. I just don't see you reaching for Brock Bowers when you can address the pass rush with Montez Sweat. You can address the offensive line. You can address another wide receiver, because you have to think about it. DJ Moore is going to be a free agent after the 2025 season. Keenan Allen's on a 1-year deal right now. So DJ was on a very cheap deal that he signed with Carolina back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously it's a relatively cheap deal. So you think he's going to want a payday at some point in 2025. Megan Price, how we feeling? Megan's been doing her shit in baseball. She's been popping off. So definitely check out her stuff. I believe it's Bunny's birthday today too. So happy birthday, Bunny. But with that being said, I think there's a lot of different possibilities. And I'm really excited to see how the Bears could potentially move forward. But we're going to get into some Cubs talk as well today, if you guys don't mind. We're going to be talking some Chicago Cubs baseball, really breaking down what the Chicago Cubs are going to be looking forward to going into opening day. We're less than 9 days away till opening day. Obviously, tomorrow at 5 a.m. in Korea, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the San Diego Padres. That's going to be an absolute blast. I'm going to try to be awake for that. We'll see what happens. I just downloaded MLB The Show. So hello there, brothers. We're going to be rocking that out all night long, just like my boy Sketch. But Rob Scott, how we feeling, baby? Rob said he placed a bet on that game. I'm still waiting for DraftKings to open it up. I got Freddie Freeman over 1.5 hits in that game. I have Yu Darvish with 3 strikeouts. I have Kim with a long home run. He's from Korea. Definitely going to see him with the long ball. Then I have a Dodgers win. So I'm excited about it, though, man. I'm excited to see what's going to potentially happen. We're going to get a couple more things in really quick, talking Cubs, talking Bears. Somebody said you should take over Mully at 670 to score. Listen, Mully's a great guy. Mully is a great person. Y'all gotta chill with that. Rob Scott says Kim is about to get us money. Let's go. Rob's in the same boat. But with that being said, man, over unders. I want to give a quick couple bets to start off Chicago Cubs 2024 baseball. So really quick, let me get my Cubs hat on because I think it's important when we talk about the vibes, baby. We got to talk about the vibes of Wrigley Field right now. We're back at it talking Chicago Cubs baseball. Couldn't find my Cubs hat, but I got my Rawlings lucky hat. So let's get into it. I think for the Chicago Cubs in the 2024 season, I have Christopher Morel over 35 home runs. I also have Justin Steele over 150 strikeouts. I think that's strikeouts. Pardon me. I also have Nico Horner being an all-star. So the 3 bets I would place right now, if you're a Chicago Cubs fan and you're trying to make some money on FanDuel or DraftKings, here's where you go. I think Christopher Morel hits over 40 home runs. I think Christopher Morel is an all-star. And I also think Shota Imanaga has over 175 strikeouts on the year. That's where I'm at right now. If you guys disagree, definitely let me know. It's going to be really interesting, man. It's going to be cool to see what potentially happens. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Might go live a little bit later. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow is Caleb Williams' pro day. Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles just arrived in LAX. We have Jerry Rice's son, a former legend and one of the fan favorites of Rob Scott. Brendan Rice, who is also declared for the 2023 or 2024 NFL draft, is going to be receiving any passes from Caleb Williams during this draft day. Obviously, they played multiple years together at USC. Could the Chicago Bears go Rice and Caleb in the 2024 NFL draft? That'll be interesting. I don't think so, but it's definitely a conversation starter. We're going to be talking about Pro Day tomorrow, the conversations between Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and Caleb Williams, what we understand through that meeting, how Caleb Williams looks performance-wise. Obviously, the secret medicals that everybody's been waiting to hear about, which I'm sure are perfectly fine. If they're not, that actually is really huge news. But until then, make sure you hit that follow button if you haven't already. I'll check you guys out later. This is Mike Hughes, a.k.a. Mike on the Mic, or the Shy Kid on TikTok. Until then, check you guys out later. Peace.